Hi, this is Pat Ray from sellingfromstage.com.au, and today's video is titled Selling from Stage Without Selling, Tip Number 4. A few weeks ago we posted a video titled Tip Number 1, and in that video we talked about how you can get your audience to come to like and trust you without you having to talk about yourself. And by that we organised for somebody else to introduce us by providing them with a speaker's bio. That way you wouldn't have to talk about yourself when you first got on stage. And in tip number 2 we talked about how to make a great first impression once you did step out on stage, because you really only get one opportunity. And then last week's tip number 3, talked about how to prove exactly what your content is going to be in terms of whether or not it works or not. And the best way to do that, of course, is with social proof or testimonials. So today we're talking about content. Now, often people struggle to write content for their talks, and they get too bogged down in writing the actual content rather than standing up in front of an audience and telling your story. Now, the key to content is to actually keep it very simple. You see, whether the talk is 5 minutes or 1 hour, the content doesn't take up much of the talk at all. But often people get bogged down in trying to write too much content. So here's my tip on how to get the content balance of your talk absolutely spot on. The central theme of your talk will be a given. The entire purpose of why you're standing in front of a group of people will make up your central theme. Now here's where people make the mistake. They often try and tell the audience far too much information. And sometimes more isn't necessarily better. Sometimes more is simply just more. So my tip for you is to keep it very simple. You have your central theme, and I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. But to highlight your central theme, try and keep it down to 1 or 2 or maybe 3 key points. If you keep it down to under 3 points, then you'll know that the content that you'll be delivering will be absolutely spot on, because you won't be bogging them down in far too much information. So we've got 3 points to our central theme. Now, here's the kicker. For each point that you're going to highlight, use stories to highlight the point. Now I'm going to re-emphasize that. Let your stories highlight the point. You see, the people who are sitting in your audience who have come to listen to you, they want to know your story. So you need to give it to them. And here's an example. I've been using the talk that I've been giving over the last 5 years called It's Okay to Look Fat When You Breathe. And one of the points we talk about in that talk is I give a very simple and a very basic anatomy lesson. So we try and link in how the diaphragm works when you breathe and how the diaphragm is linked to giving you a strong lower back. So that's the point. Now the way in which I highlight that point is I tell a couple of stories. The first story that I tell is about Olivia, my 5-year-old daughter. Now in this picture she's only 3, and the video clip that I show in the talk is actually Olivia fast asleep on a beanbag, but the camera zooms in on her stomach because it proves the point that I'm trying to make about how the diaphragm is used in breathing and how the diaphragm is also used in strengthening your lower back. I then go on to tell another story, and that story talks about how one of my recent students out of one of my Cert 4 and fitness classes had a back problem, and then I tell the story on how we solved his back problem through strengthening his lower back. So you can see how I've used 2 stories to highlight 1 point. And once you get into the swing of telling your story, you become very good at it. And people will see how honest you are, because you're telling a story that is from your own personal background. It is all about the stories. Now, the other point I want to make here when it comes to delivering content is all about giving your best away. Now, people often go along to talks, and one of the biggest complaints that I have from people who go along to presentations is they tell me that at the end of the presentation they learnt what to do, but they didn't know how to do it. And to me, this is a fundamental flaw in presenters, and I know exactly why they stop short of telling you how. You see, when I give away my best stuff, what I'm trying to achieve is, at the end of the talk, I want the audience to be able to know exactly what it is I'm trying to teach them. I want them to know exactly what they have to do to implement all the strategies that I teach, so that they can go off and do it on their own. Often when you give talks and presentations, the presenter will tell you what to do, but they won't tell you how. And they have a specific motive for this. The reason why they don't tell you how is because they have an upsell at the end of their talk, and they want you to come along to some further training with them so that they can show you how. Now, I think this is fundamentally wrong. I think you're ripping your audience off when you don't tell them how. Because if you don't tell them how, they can't go off and do it on their own. And to expect the audience to spend more time with you to learn how, I think is wrong. So in all of my talks, I will not only tell you what to do, I will show you how to do it. The people that I want to spend more time with me are only those people who feel that they can't do it on their own. So this has been Selling from Stage Without Selling tip number 4. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about how to sell from stage, then I'm running a one-day workshop titled Selling from Stage Without Selling. It's on Saturday the 16th of June 2012. It runs from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I'm holding it at my personal training studio here in Springwood in Brisbane. If you want to know more about the workshop, then head on over to www.sellingfromstage.com.au, or you can check us out on Facebook, Selling from Stage Without Selling. My name is Pat Ray. I hope you enjoyed this video. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.